All right, we're going to be on part one of the Air 5 Study Guide for American History 1, based on North Carolina's essential standards. So what we're going to look at on this page right now is a lot of big concept names and stuff that you guys got to know. The first picture up here is John Quincy Adams. He's going to be a one-term president, but he's actually a guy that kind of has a lot on his record going into the presidency. And because of him and this guy, Jackson, we're going to get the two-party system being recreated again. You know, we had that era of good feelings. It kind of dies with this guy. Jackson is definitely a guy you have to know. Jacksonian democracy. That's his presidency. That's his legacy that he leaves. And then you've got Henry Clay, the great compromiser. This guy who does a lot of stuff that you just have to know, like the Missouri Compromise, Compromise of 1850, the American system. Seems like, you know, he's everywhere in history during this time period. We got President Polk down here. So Polk is going to be an important guy for this thing called Manifest Destiny. But of course Jackson and all of them are going to be there during this time period, because during this time period we are expanding the size and power of our nation. And we're doing it sometimes at the expense of people like the American Indians with the Trail of Tears. Now, the first question is, what area does 5440 or fight refer to, and who said it? So 5440 or fight refers to this Northwest Territory or the Oregon Territory, and at the moment Britain owns it. So Britain is owning it because there's a lucrative fur trade. What's going on with the fur trade at the moment is not lucrative. It's not making them any money. So when we start saying 5440 or fight, we're doing this in the election of 1844. It's a campaign slogan. People rally around it. You know, you got to have something catchy. You know, something that people kind of go around with. So like Bill Clinton's campaign slogan was, "Is the economy stupid?" Now people kind of rally around these kind of slogans. So 5440 fight refers to the map lines. You give us this, or we go to war with you, Britain. And so Britain looks at it and they're like, well, we're not making any money, so we're not really going to be losing anything, so just give it to them. And, you know, we're threatening a war over it. So Polk says it, and we actually do get the territory thanks to our aggressive stance on it. And this is going to kind of be what you see going on in Manifest Destiny. We typically get angry very, very quick. Now, number two is, what was the main cause, or what was the cause of the Mexican War? Outcome and treaty name. So we've annexed Texas. So the United States took in Texas because Texas has actually got a little bit of an issue right now going on with Mexico. Remember, back in the day, you had American colonists or American settlers. They went to colonize this area of Texas. They're called expats, expatriates. They're former Americans. So while they're there, you know, they start having problems with Mexico, and they're going to fight for their independence. That's where that Battle of the Alamo and all that stuff goes on. They eventually win their independence, Sam Houston and all of them. And for a while, they're chill. They're on their own. They're the Republic of Texas, their own country. And then things start to heat up between them and their former mother country, Mexico. So they will ask to be annexed by the United States, and we will graciously give them annexation. We will add them to the country. But when you add them, you get all the issues with Texas. And one of the issues is a border dispute. When we annex Texas, we now have the border dispute with Mexico. They're a state that we are going to protect. And they're a slave state, which is part of the reason why it took us a while to annex them. So this border dispute is going to be between the United States and Mexico. We claim that the border is the Rio Grande River. It's just kind of like a natural border that's there. Mexico says, it's considerably north of that. You guys don't know what you're talking about. So we go to war over this, and the United States wins in just about 3 months worth of time fighting. And then what ends up happening is the treaty takes a lot longer to actually go on. You know, you're talking a considerable amount of time to pan out this treaty. But in the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, it gives the United States the Southwest Territory. And here is the actual, like, treaty. Like, if you look at the modern day states here, you can see that the United States gets a good portion of the American Southwest because of it. Now, we don't get everything, so this little part down here we don't get. But I want you to understand Pretty much most of things from the north of the Rio Grande we get. We just don't get this part, but we'll buy it later. So the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo gave the United States the American Southwest, and that was California, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Nevada, Colorado. You kind of see a little part of Wyoming. I mean, you're really seeing a good portion of our country. We also know this is the Mexican Cession. So this is in 1848. We get all of this. And this is going to be important territory for us. There's going to be a huge gold rush here in 1849. So California is going to have a huge gold rush, lots of gold in the mountains. We're going to have some silver strikes. And so really when we get this territory, there's going to be a lot of addition of wealth to our nation. Number 3 is what is Manifest Destiny and what did it do for the U.S.? So we did a map in class, but it is from 1800 to 1850. This is a time period when America believes it is their destiny that they must expand, and they must expand westward. And remember, we believe God is telling us this is our destiny. We have to do it, or else. So we had the original 13 colonies, right? We got that from Britain. And then as time went on, we bought the Louisiana Territory. We buy Florida. So we do a little purchasing, but those are early parts of Manifest Destiny. And as time goes on, we get basically the continental 48 states. We annex Texas. We fight a war with Mexico to get the Mexican Cession. We buy this Gadsden area, which is the lower half. So pretty much everything from the Rio Grande up is going to be ours. We bully Britain into giving us the Northwest Territory or the Oregon Territory. We do the Treaty of Greenville. There's lots of treaties that we do, but a lot of it we're going to fight wars, purchase land, and bully people to get what we want. That is what Manifest Destiny essentially is. Number 4 is what did Lewis and Clark discover and how did it help contribute to the growth of the nation? So remember, we buy Louisiana Territory. Jefferson does it. He does it for 2 reasons. He does it, 1, to go ahead and have self-defense, get Napoleon and the French away from us, and 2, to expand agrarian or agricultural land. But, we don't know what's in this territory that we just bought. So now that we have the Louisiana Territory, we know New Orleans and we know the Mississippi River, but we don't know the rest of it. I mean, it's a huge piece of land. So they go ahead and they start out in Missouri and they're going to travel. Now, remember, they're supposed to find a waterway out here. But they never do. What they do is find a nice land trail, and it's a safe trail that you can go out west on. So a lot of travelers, a lot of settlers are going to travel along this area to get out to this western territory. So remember, when we looked at the market revolution, a good number of people who don't want to work in the factories up here are going to come out here and they're going to start farming. And you would come out on the Oregon Trail. You travel in huge numbers. For safety, you have American Indians who will attack. You have the weather elements, and the weather elements is really what kills a good portion of them. It's a difficult, long trail. Everything you ever need, you need to carry with you on the Oregon Trail. You can get sick real easy, and you die. Just a lot of bad things on that Oregon Trail, but the Oregon Trail is relatively a safer way to get out there. It's not a real road. It's just markers. It's a trail path. And you would have a trail guide, typically, who would lead you out there. You follow them. Every night, you kind of have to settle around. You get your little wagons in a circle, and you put your animals there in the circle. But once you're out west, there's really no civilization. It's whatever you want. So if you felt like out here in the east, you weren't very welcomed because of the established order of the way things were done, then go out west and establish your own order, your own laws, your own religion. And that's why the Mormons are going to travel out west. So they actually are up here, and then they're going to come here to Missouri. There's going to be some heat there, and so they're going to eventually go out to the Utah area at the Salt Lake area. And that is why Utah actually gets settled. It gets settled by the Mormons. They're the most famous group that travels on that trail. Number 5 is name the 3 parts to the American system and explain which region, north, south, or west, liked the section of it. So the American system was kind of like a recreation of Hamilton's economic plan, and Henry Clay, the great compromiser, creates this plan When you look at the plan, it's kind of identical except for that infrastructure part. You know, Clay's system wants to do taxes and tariffs. He wants to do a bank, but he wants to pay off a debt from all that American Revolutionary stuff, so he assumes state debt. Henry Clay decides to do a tariff, do the bank again, and he wants to create a debt too, but he wants to create it by building roads and canals. So this is what you look at with the American system. The first part is creating infrastructure. All infrastructure is roads and canals. This is what gets transportation in your area done. It's called infrastructure. So the national roads, here's one. So the Cumberland roads, the national roads. And so you'll also have the Erie Canal, and that's going to be connecting New York area to Lake Erie, connecting the Atlantic to the Great Lakes, connecting the east to the west. That's what they considered the west back then. So all the regions pretty much liked it because it means that you're going to be able to transport your goods easier. So your raw production down there in the south, your raw production in the west is going to be able to go up to the factories. It's going to be able to get refined, and then it can be shipped back down to you. So life gets a lot easier when you have roads and canals. The second part of it is tariffs. So now that you got all these like roads and canals and stuff, you do actually have to pay for it. So a tax on imported goods, which would drive the price up on foreign goods, and that would mean that your factory domestic made goods would be your cheaper goods. So the North likes this because it eliminates any foreign competitors. Now when you go to a store, the cheapest made goods out there on the shelf are going to be American-made goods, and they're Northern American-made goods. So the North likes it because it's going to help build up their economy. Very similar on what Hamilton does with his plan. You know, he's building up the Northern economy because he believes that the industry, the factory, is the future of America. So you got to build it up, and Clay's plan pretty much follows suit on that. Then Henry Clay wants to recreate the bank. So we get a second national bank, or Bank of the United States. And this is simply meant to reestablish the financial stability needed for the nation. The North really likes it because pretty much banks kind of favor industry over agriculture. Industry is a little bit more predictable. The banks are really going to be situated there. They're not going to be situated really in the South. There's a lot going on that the North likes. So if you notice, there's only one aspect of this plan that the South and the West are on board with. But Henry Clay creates this. It is supposed to help the nation build economically, try and build up the weaker northern area, because at the moment the South is stronger economically. So you also have to give two economic effects of the American system. So the improvement in the transportation increased the interstate trade or domestic trade within the nation, enabling those raw materials like cotton to be shipped to the industrial north, where it's going to be refined and sold throughout the nation. So this is exactly, maybe where Alexander Hamilton would have went, and this is Hamilton, in the future, but, he's not alive anymore. Well, he had a lot of beef with people. B, the tariff helped the brand new industries, or baby industries in the North. They were able to grow financially, enabling the North to actually become the wealthier region of our country by the 1840s. And that's going to help them out because when the Civil War rolls around, when President Lincoln needs weapons, he can go to the factories in his area and get those weapons. When the Confederacy, the southern states that left, when they need weapons, they don't have factories to actually build those weapons. So they have to buy weapons from a foreign power. And if you buy weapons from a foreign power like England and France, you're probably going to feel the wrath of the United States of America on you. So, in the future, it's going to cause them a lot of problems in the South, but this is because the North is actually industrializing and looking at the future, and the future was factories.